Hello RC fans, Racing 393. This is part 2 of my vintage Nitro rebuild. We're currently rebuilding a team associated NTC3 Nitro Touring Car 3. In the previous video, you'll have seen we stripped down the front because the front was all solid with rust, or most of it. The steering knuckles, hence it wasn't steering. It was hard work. I'm not gonna lie, getting it all stripped down and cleaned. But we eventually did it. It did take a number of hours. You only saw like a bit of it because for some reason one of those pillow balls on the left-hand steering knuckle, if you like, hub, just would not come out. It wouldn't. I could not budge it. It's amazing where, I mean, those particular design hubs, they're great for adjusting camber and caster. Not the caster, the camber. And they work well, but they do require maintenance. And with that, it's just a case of keeping them greased. If you live in a wet climate or use your nitros or RC cars when it's raining, these particular design of suspension and steering acumen, if you like, the pillow balls, they do require maintenance. It's a bit like taking your RC car on the beach, I guess, with the sand or seawater and the salt. You need to strip it right down, don't you, really, if you do that, because the salt can absolutely eat away at most RC car parts, bearings, pivot pins, anything like that, or shock absorbers. You know, they can absolutely ruin it unless you strip it down. So that's, I mean, I don't do that. I don't live near the beach, but I have taken my cars on the beach in the past, and yeah, it gets in everywhere. So these pillow balls on this particular Nitro, they are on others. If you leave them, it's just a recipe for disaster. So that was a struggle, but we managed it, which is a good thing. Got it all cleaned. Everything works, or works as good as. Found the dowel pin. I still haven't found it, but you know, it's somewhere in my shed, but heaven knows where. But it doesn't matter, as I've got a spare one, which I put in there. I think that was from a RC10 GT, I think. So probably a very similar era Nitro from Team Associated. And it was also nice to know that the RC10 GT and the NTC3, there's some parts which are similar, even nuts and bolts sort of fit both. So yeah, so in this video we get to the point where we're going to start the engine. Now I haven't stripped the engine down. It does have a compression. I've got to charge up a glow starter. Either I'll use the glow plug that's in it. I think I did test it previously. It did glow. So a little bit of nitro. Might take the carb air filter off just so I can set the carb manually. There'll be no electrics in it. It's a pull start, so we'll see. If it starts and I can get to rev, and I'm not looking for like idling too much, but I can sense that it would run. We'll then go into taking the engine out, and then that'll be stripped down and cleaned, because you ain't gonna be able to buy anything for this, I don't think. And the rear end of the car, the 2-speed, the diff, and the running parts at the back will need to be stripped down and cleaned like the front. So that'll be that part of the video. There'll probably be the suspension cleaned and the diff. We probably won't go into too much detail with that because you've already seen most of that. And then onto the engine, getting that stripped down and cleaned, and I'll show you the bits and pieces and that to help anyone out there that's trying to understand how a nitro engine goes together. And we'll see if any problems. We'll cover that in the video. So that'll be coming up in part 2. Just like I said before, please like and subscribe to my channel to see when other vintage nitros and rebuilding are released, or videos are released. I hope you enjoyed the video. sit down and relax, and I'll see you soon.
Okay, now it might be a little bit of a bitzer video. Technically, this will be part 2 of my team associated Nitro Touring Car 3 rebuild. So I'll start off with what I did briefly in the last video. So we rebuilt the front end. I took it apart, cleaned it. It's now, you know, it steers, which it didn't do before. So it moves quite well there, as you can see. The diff's all rebuilt and feels actually pretty good. So in this video, what I was going to try and do at the beginning is do a startup, wondering whether or not this actually works. Now I've had the glow starter on charge for a bit. I've got some bits and pieces here which I've ordered, so you can't see that, but that's got my address on it. But these should be plastics. Now I'm saying I probably don't need a lot of these, if I'm honest, but I did break one, didn't I? So the bit I accidentally broke, you can't see it now, but it's this bracket here, this one. It goes underneath the top wishbone, and I accidentally broke it off. So I might as well show you what I've got in here, the box. I've got, I'll probably put some 16% fuel in it. I mean, the engine is only a 0.15. So I want to take the, in fact that now, if I can. So I've taken the air cleaner off. I think it does work. I've never sort of watched it. It's got a return spring on the throttle there, which is, you know, I think that's quite important to have. You can see that there, the little spring here that's around the ball joint. So I should be able to alter this without the servo. Now, before I do that, let's have a look what's in the box. Got another package there as well, which, like I say, I might open on this video if it was live. I'd do a little poll, but it's not, so it doesn't matter. So let's just make sure I don't show you details on here. So let's get this open. A bag in a bag. In a bag. They're not bad. Quite good. This come from I think it was Canada, but quite good gift bags. We'll keep them. We don't throw anything away. Can't quite remember what I've got, but it's in better condition than what I've currently got. So it's newer. So we might change some of the stuff on there. So we've got a receiver box, if you like. I might not know what all this is. And we've got bags and bags and bags of stuff here. Wow. And interesting, I didn't know these were in here. This was good. So I wish I'd known this earlier. There's a whole packet of hardware, including those pillow balls that were rusted as bollocks on the front of this. I shouldn't really swear, should I? But that's good. They're almost brand new. Excellent. Not that I'll need to change them. It depends, doesn't it? Depends what the back is like. In here, I've already broken the bag. I'm just trying to look. So I think some of these bits that I'm going to need anyway. I don't know, is that like a different type of bumper? This has got like a bumper. So this is this bit here, which is interesting. That go on the front there, but it's a different type of bumper. I'm guessing it was something else would go on there. I'm not sure that this is on one piece, which is what that fits on. This is not too bad. It's a little bit scuffed, but there's a brand new bit of that. It's good. I think this could be almost a carbon fibre version of what I've got. So that's not that. So that's what came off. So that, I'm guessing, that goes on like that. So that would fit there. Okay, that's the original, and that I think it's a glass fibre, not glass fibre, maybe fiberglass or carbon, sort of a composite, if you like. I think that was going there. I think it all sort of sits. Yeah, I mean they've got the brake thing in the way here at the minute, but yeah, that's good. So that's a goodbye. Goodbye. What else have we got here? Not literally goodbye. So some of these are the front gearbox, the rear gearbox is held on from the chassis and braces with these. Again, these are not plastic, I don't think was on there. These are like, I suppose they could be. I haven't really looked at them that close, but that's that one. Looking at this, it could be the one that I broke, I don't know. That's that. So that's the corner one, that goes in the rear corner. That's the back corner. Yeah, that's the bit that I broke. So that goes on there, that's awesome. So we can change all these. And that's the other side here. So they're the 4 corners. That's handy, and they're really good condition as well. They're pretty much brand new, if I'm honest. Yeah, I'm not going to necessarily put all this back in exactly where it came out of. This one, shock towers. I mean, is that metal? I don't know, maybe it is the same, I haven't noticed it. That back one's definitely so that's the rear shock. I'm doing the tooth check. I can't get to that one. The teeth ain't big enough. I think that's plastic, definitely plastic. That's glass fibre. So the shock towers are there. So that's awesome. We've also got a bag of bits. I think this is on the rear end. Yeah, so this is all the rear end, which would incorporate like the transmission, the 2-speed. That's in there, so I can get all that out. That's new. This is what looks like the wishbones. So I'll grab one out. But they're still part of the tree. They're pretty the same, maybe they're the same, but they're new. So the good thing is, if I break any of these, or you know, and I'm using it and it breaks one, we'll change it. This is exactly what I was looking for without realising I wanted it, because I bought these before I got the car. This one here is the uprights, so they're good and they're all in good condition. And this bit here, interesting, look. So we've got a 2-speed tranny. So that's exactly what's on here, and that's a 2-speed kit. So it's got all the grub screws and things in there, and a couple of ball bearings, not a couple, a set of ball bearings, which probably must be something to do with this change 2-speed. So that's good. Awesome. I'm chuffed to bits with that. I think the first thing is to get this running with that first, isn't it? So, I mean, there's tons of upgrades you can get for this anyway. Right, let me just I'll chuck all this into my bag of stuff for now. So just let me clear away a minute with my, do you know, I've had all morning, well, say all morning, probably, I don't know, 2 hours trying to sort out the sound on this camera. And all to no avail. It seems that the mics don't work, which means it probably didn't work on the camera to start with. I've moved the camera ever so slightly so it's a bit closer to me. I have noticed I didn't even put my light on. Does it make any difference? There you go. Is that any better? I know you can't see the car at the moment. The car is sort of slightly out of shot, but yeah. Anyway, let's put all this away. I'll be back and I'll move the car over and we'll see what we do for a while. We're going to try and start it, I think. So there we have a big bag of spares. Nitro Touring Car 3. There's a bumper there which I haven't put on yet, and obviously the air filter. Now, the other thing I'm going to do now is we're going to take I'm going to try and do this in, oh, forgot that. The important bit, the pillow balls. So, go back in there. We're going to get the spark plug out now. This is where it can all go terribly wrong. Now, I don't know if you noticed, just something else. These spark plugs, spanners, have little bits where you can keep spare spark plugs. Look at that. No, I don't think they all have that. Do they? I don't think. Well, that one does one or two. Oh, it does. So this one has got two. So there's one there and one under there, and this one's actually got three. So there and underneath. So you just do them in like finger tight. It doesn't. I mean, they're both the same. I'm going to use this one. It doesn't make a difference. But I'm going to try and take this one out. I'm pretty sure I tested this before, so put that in a bit more so you can see what I'm doing. Yeah, let me just get me glow starter a second. The spark plug is out. It's out, but it's stuck. The washer is still in there. All in real time, of course. Now, I've been charging up a glow starter here. I think this one came with the kit, so I don't probably been wasting my time charging it up forever and it doesn't work anyway. So this is all in real time. If it's not, then if it don't work, we're going to have to wait, won't we? Because I don't think I've got another one. Either that or it doesn't do anything, which is handy. I don't know if I've got, which means that might not even work. But that one is glowing. So maybe this one doesn't actually work. We'll have to see. So I might as well charge this one up a bit longer for a sec. So the thing is, when you get stuff, you just don't know what's good, what isn't. When the light was on, there's no reason why it shouldn't have charged. The light's on, but nobody's home. Right, let me get sorted. We're going to be using the homemade silencer to go. That'll go on there. It's not going to be very good because it's a tiny little exhaust. So what I'm going to do is set up the camera up so you can see a bit better, because I'm a bit out of shot now, and we'll see. If it kicks and fires, happy days. And I don't mean the funds. Right, let me sort this out. So first things first is I need to attach that to there, and I've got like a hose with a Jubilee clip on there, as it were. I don't think it's around small enough. So you're probably thinking, why bother? Yeah, I'm thinking the same as well. But we'll see. I'm not sure if it's going to do up. My hand's in the way, but I've only got to nip it a bit. Upsetting people is quite easy in this day and age. It has got it now. So I suppose until it gets hot, that is of course assuming it starts. So what's next? Fuel. I've got 25%, or a bottle that hasn't got 25 in it, but it says 25%. This doesn't say anything other than nitro fuel, and this could only have been 16%. So I've got 25% which is empty, like one of these bottles. I've got loads of others up there, so I'm quite happy that is 16%. I don't need to put like a load in there, but I'll try and do it so that you can see. It doesn't need a lot in there. So it's not a tuning one, it's just, does it start? Does it start? Right, the next thing to do, whilst it's got the plug out, is this needs to be pulled over. Although the tricky bit now is I'll have to put it in the car. So let's. I don't know. Should I put it on there? Does it work actually? It's quite stiff, so. This is just literally to pull it over. It's not turning particularly very easily. Let's try and stifle it a minute. Let's pour some of this fuel up. So it was a bit tight, which can only really point to that the engine wants cleaning out. It's probably got goo in there, but it did pull fuel up, which is good. So let's put this back on there. This is one of those things that can go wrong. Right, let's move the stuff out of it a minute. Do I need a tuning screwdriver? I mean, if it don't go, doesn't it? So bear in mind, I've not changed any of the settings on the carb. So let's put the glow plug back in. The washer's still in the top of the head there, so. That. So nipped up. So it's got compression. We're still recording. They're going to say that's good. Right old problems with that. Right, let's get the glow starter. Now remember, the plan is it just needs to fire. I don't know how to put this really. Because I need the camera the other way, but oh well. Because when I do this, okay, are you ready? ignition. Actually, could be a one-way bearing, couldn't it? Yeah, that's the one-way bearing is definitely not working very well. One my bearings knackered, obviously. That's alright. Mission accomplished. The one-way bearing's knackered. Okay, turn it off. Good. You don't need too much fiddling around. I mean, it will need stripping down, which will be the other part of this video now. There we go. I love the smell of nitro. It's so much more rewarding than electric, but although I like both. So we know that it starts. It did have a bit of goo in there, so it will get cleaned out. The engine can now come out of the chassis, and I mean the rear, I mean, it is really smooth. You could argue, does it need taken apart? But when I took this one apart, it was just needed servicing, and as it happens, it's just a case of cleaning the shocks up, taking the diff out and rebuilding it. I can't, you know, I for some reason I'm one of those strange people that like building diffs and shocks, so it seems like no one else likes doing it. I don't know why. You know, to me, building a little rudder controlled car with a, well, in this case with an engine, and it has all miniature, you know, miniature shocks, because they are small, aren't they? A miniature diff, a 2-speed gearbox, and you can't be impressed with that. You sort of fail to be impressed. I don't know, I fail to understand that. Anyway, onwards and upwards for this video, so I'm going to probably come back to you once I've got the engine out and exhaust and that off, and we'll go through, because it's going to need a bearing, isn't it? It's going to need a one-way bearing, so it's definitely slipping. There's no point putting that back in. And then we'll have to take the centre shaft out, and then the whole rear end can come off, probably as one unit, I would think, and it'll get stripped down and cleaned and pretty much put that together. It's not as bad as the front. The front have been, like I said, as you've seen on the other video, rotten, you know, I don't know, solid, but it's actually come out really well. Yeah. Right, so let me Let's do a bit on there. Let's take the exhaust off and the engine out, and I'll come back and sort of show you the next bit. Right, here again. So in this part of the video, after that successful running, what I'm going to do now is remove the engine. Now, it's not that difficult. It's a couple of bolts underneath, and all I'll do is, I won't necessarily film me taking it off, I'll just take it off, and the plan is we're going to just check the inside of the engine just to make sure everything's okay. And it did run, to see how far we can go with it, 'cause, you know, old engines and undoing old bolts can be a bit of a predicament. And then I'll probably show you taking the rear off, but I'm not going to show you filming it or stripping it all down again unless I find any problems. It feels fine, but you know, the front, when I do that with the diff, that feels graunchy, and when I do that with the front, say the front diff, the back diff, and the front, well, that does feel, you can feel the bearings in there, the ball bearings. It's nowhere like this, so the back does need a bit of a re-grease, so that needs stripping down. So the first thing is removing the engine from the chassis, and then I'll show you when I've got that. So let's go from there. An engine came out. It wasn't without a few, well, no issues, other than I couldn't get the actual engine mounts off the chassis. The bolts underneath, I'll have to look at them once I've got the rear sort of diff structure off, but they wouldn't undo, so I take it off from the engine block, if you like. But it came apart really well. There's nothing, I can't see if anything is particularly damaged. All I would say, right, I'm going to leave the clutch and that on there while I clean this, but that feels a bit dry, and I was trying to look in there. I don't know, some of the ball bearings are missing, but if they're missing, they'll be in here. I'm not sure where they should be, like, tight. I don't know if you can see that in there. I don't know if I got enough. I might move that light down. Let's see if I can light up a little bit. Can you see that? Can you actually see the bearing? It's got ball races in it, obviously, but they're not all like touching. Have they come out, or they're not supposed to be like that? I don't know. But I'll clean that. That's fine. The pinion, if you like, 2-speed clutch bell. You can see over time it's actually got hot, so it's gone into a darker colour there. So it's obviously been, I don't know, someone's been trying to wheel spin with it or something, or burn out some heathen thing. It's really important to not lose, or not lose, but remember where the shims go. There's a shim here which I'm going to put, I can't really move a lot here, but it goes against the crankshaft before that goes on with the other bearing, which I'll clean out. So I'll try and keep them in some sort of order. The piston and rods here, so this goes on into the engine. There's a groove on the back of the com rod, which is like there. Hopefully you can see that. Not sure how unclear that is, but that faces in the engine, if you like. The piston has got skirts on both sides, so it doesn't matter which way around the piston goes, I suppose, but that rod is really important. It looks, I don't know if it looks unclear on there. Is it focusing? What's it doing? And the liner came out relatively easy. with the old cable tie trick. Now, one of the other things I want to do is I'm going to put the piston into this. Yeah, I mean, it isn't totally, it's not brilliant, but that's the way round that the piston would go into the liner, and I can't push it out, so that's a good thing. That means it's not warm, which is awesome. I've got the one-way bearing just soaking. I couldn't get it to slip, so I'm going to clean it like all the other bits and pieces on here. We've got shims everywhere, but everything is fairly straightforward. Got the carb off as well, that came off nice and easy. Yeah, I'll probably just quickly, it's got the seal on it as well, I'll just probably have a little quick overview of that. The exhaust has got a little dink in it, but that's why that's really going to matter there. So that's been pushed in. I might better wedge it and pull it out a little bit, but that's just me being fussy. The exhaust gasket's okay, the cooling head's fine. So I think the next thing for me to do really is to clean this up and just get the crank a bit. It doesn't spin that well, so I don't know. There's no play in it, and also the crank, the end of the crank, what we would call the, well, in car terms, that would be the big end. Which goes into the crank. So when the rods, of which there's only one in here, but on a car where it might be a 4-cylinder car, that would be called the big end, because it's bigger, and the small end will be up behind the piston. But I think on these type of nitros, they're both the same, but anyway. Yeah, I can't really see a problem with that in there, other than it's not spinning as freely as I would like it. So we'll get that cleaned up, and I'm still a bit confused on those ball bearings in there. I wouldn't know. If anything's broken up. There's no debris in there, so who knows? It is a genuine 0.15. Hopefully you can see that. And it is Associated Electronics, if it would focus. Ever. Try and get it closer. I don't know. There it goes. It's a really slow. I'm not keen on this camera, by the way. You probably would have seen a review of me buying this camera, and statistically it should be good, but in reality it isn't. I don't know if it's probably slightly better than the one I had. The sound's definitely worse. There's something seriously wrong, and I don't use 5K because it just takes forever to put onto the computer and to upload and download and stuff. Anyway, I'm going to clean this now. I'm going to clean the engine and I'll get it back together, but I'm unsure about the bearing. I mean, I have cleaned it. We'll have to try it out once it's all back, apart from the pull start. I can then sort of do some stuff with it. But anyway, whilst it's all fresh in my mind, let's get it back together. Well, stripped, taken apart, put back together. I have found a problem. I don't think it's going to affect it too much, but what I did notice underneath the cooling head there's quite a lot of burn off, leaking, and this screw bolt, head bolt, can't tighten down as much as you want, so it's stripped. And I don't know if I don't think the bolt's stripped. I think it's the block, which is a bit of a pain. So I suppose I could re-tap it and go a slightly different thread, but we'll have to have a look. I cleaned the one-way bearing. It seems, if I try this, I'll say that, can't do it. It's going off. Hang on. So that's, you know, it's not slipping now. And I'll straighten that exhaust bit at the end now, just pulled it out a little bit. Yeah, it's come right. Eventually got this off, these mounts. Yeah, the clutch bell's all nice and free. It's really free. It's all been cleaned in now. It's got a bit of a pinch, so it's not worn. So that's all good. So I'm not going to put it back in yet. No point. I suppose the next thing now, which I'm not going to film doing this, of course, is take the back off as a complete unit and strip it down, rebuild the diff, clean the shocks, and stick it all back together, put this back in. And then at that point we'll be looking to, well, I've got some servos coming, haven't got a receiver yet, but yeah, I can get some cheap Chinese receivers for now at like 20 or £17 each rather than £80 each. Yeah, so this part, I'm not going to film this bit, it's exactly the same as the front, isn't it? So I'm going to take that apart. You haven't got feeler vision, so you'd have to trust me, but for the sake of the video, this is without that being done at all. A bit grindy. It's definitely different to the front, so once I've redone this, you should, well, so you should notice a difference, I should notice a difference. Right, let's crack on, let's get the back off. Right, all back together and cleaned. It wasn't as straightforward as I wanted it to be. The back's slightly, it is ever so slightly different. So there's a few things I just couldn't get off. I didn't want to sort of waste my time, but I got the diff apart and cleaned it all out like I did the front. So we'll do a feel test. Who's feel? See that there? That's better. We'll spin it round. In fact, it's a little bit looser than the front. I haven't done it up quite as tight. Yeah, all good. The dog bones are really close to the edge. It's just the way it is. But yeah, so we're fine with that. What I'm going to do now is change the fuel line. Is that zoomed in? Hang on, I think it's in 5K. Interesting, I've changed the resolution a little bit here now. Just to see if it's any different, and probably more importantly, I forgot. Right, so got some new fuel line here, which I'm just going to measure that roughly the same. So you always use clear from the carburettor to the tank. Well, it's the other way around, isn't it? Where's my snips? So I always run, so the fuel picking up from the carb. No, not the carb. Why do I say things that I don't actually mean? So fuel from the tank to the carb. Talking of fuel, it's all coming out. So this will be clear. So we'll pop that in. I'm hoping it'll be enough. I hope. Should be alright. Like that. It's fuel everywhere at the moment because for some reason when I've had this upside down it sort of siphons itself out, doesn't it? And it ends up all over the shop. But that's the clear. I might need to put like a really small cable tie around the end there. It might not need it, but who knows. This one, which goes around and just tucks into there, I'm going to use blue only because that's what I've got. I can use clear, but I'm not going to bother. Just use this blue up. So let me just measure this a second. So it's about there. I'll snip that off, pull that out. I know that went onto there. I hope it's the same bore size. It should be alright. Goes in, it goes round the handle, that's how it's done, and it goes into the exhaust, just sort of slots in there. Which I should have put this on before I did the exhaust, but anyway. I'm sort of fingers and thumbs. Bear with me a second. I'm hoping I don't need to take the exhaust off, or at least I might have to undo it from here. Maybe that's what I'll probably have to do. It's right down by the side of the tank. Not that one. Get the right tool for the job. There we go. So that's that one there. Let me just put that back. Poke that in. Let's poke that in there. It's going to be a bit of a tight fit. Actually, it's really tight. There we go. That's in there. There's still fuel everywhere because it all came out. Let's put this back in. The thing is, when you're working on these old buggies, RC cars, and it screws into plastic, it's like really easy to cock things up, and things are generally not, you know, not done as it should. Why is that zoomed in? Is it me, or have I pushed a button on here or something? Let's have a look. There we go. I don't know what's going on half the time. There we go, that's that. I think that's a bit better. Although it is quite close to the camera. I could do with it being here a minute. Is that right? That should be fine. So we've got everything all back on. Everything's cleaned and back together. The engine's back together. It seems to have compression. Not compression. The one-way bearing seems to work. I cleaned it. Got all the grease out of it. I think I mentioned in the previous part of the video, this head bolt is a bit, well, not a bit, it is stripped. Yeah, so I've got some of the drills here. I don't know, like 2.5 and 3mm. I've got to drill out part of the engine block and then re-tap it with something else, or just re-tap it with the size that you need. It doesn't have to be this thread size, so it's going to have an odd bolt in there. But when I took this apart, there was some leakage at the bottom of the head, so it must have been leaking for quite a while. I I don't know if that's going to make any difference. You know, like I say, these nitros, they get put back together to run, and I don't want them to get, like, perhaps not as used as much as what it may have done, like in the past, because they're like being restored. But yeah, I think the next stage of, I suppose it will be on this video. Yeah, it will be on this video. Is going to be on this side. We're going to put the servos in, which are here. So I've got a couple of servos for it. They're just cheap servos, and the servo plate and the linkage. So that's got to go onto the servo. The servo horn is somewhere in there, in this bag of bits. I've got another exhaust in there, which, you know, may, I don't know, it doesn't necessarily have to go on there, does it? So the next part, I haven't got a receiver yet, so that's going to be forthwith. I'm probably going to get a cheaper version of that. I'll go to the old Chinese China, good old China, and not the Edward type, if you know what I mean. And then put it all together, get it running, and it'd be another car that I'll probably never take out. Here, is it out of shot? You can just see this bit here. That is the Condor, which was done a year ago, and I never got around to taking it out. So we might do something with that and get it, and sort of finish that video off from a year ago. So, to be honest, I forgot, and I think I got a feeling that sort of the magnetic body shells come off, because I clipped it the other day and it came off. But yeah, I don't see a reason why we can't get that out and give it a run and finish that video off, and then we'll get this one out once it's done. It hasn't got a body shell yet, but any 1/10 body shell will fit. Yeah, I'm trying to think anything else. Anything else? No. So I think the videos tend to be a bit longer nowadays. Not much I can do about that. Because I want to get it all done. So in the next part, coming up, for you in a minute, for me whenever I get around to doing it, we're going to put the tray in, screw that in, get the servos positioned, probably using the old servo horns if I can, and then that's gone flat, got another light there, that's probably gone out, and then yeah, this shouldn't be too long now, and then we can mess around with the setup, sort of, I wouldn't say ride height as such, but I don't know if that's bent, which I didn't notice before. You see that one? If I turn that, you can see this one here. I don't know. Things you notice, eh? Right. Let's get the radio tray put in. I'm going to use the original one that come out. So I've got the new one. I've also got the receiver box. Oh, should I use the new one? That's the part I'm using. Now I believe that this here is the new one. So in theory, that's got a slide and it's got a rough edge on there. It's this old, doesn't matter what you do, but even the little bit on the end there, you just have to get rid of it. There we go. But just so it sits in there better. So that's how that's got to go. I've just clipped it in for now, because this has to sort of sit in there as well, like so. That should just push down, like that. I think that's another new one I got. But the steering servo, it sort of goes in there first, in the bottom here, and the other servo will go here. And then you've got like the batteries will go there, which I won't use the AA batteries. I'm going to use, you know, a 1600 or whatever it is milliamp hour rechargeable. I'm going to put that in there. So I think what I'm going to do now is install the servos. I can't get them actually working yet because I haven't got a receiver, so I'll be back once I've got a receiver and the servos in, and we can show you from there on in.
What I thought I'd do is just quickly show you what I've done, which I did off camera. So the servos are now in. The front servo, you can see, goes underneath that servo plate, and the wires run through the box. And I've also got the throttle servo in. It went together really well, if I'm honest. I've just got to rewire the route for the wires because I've just put them there for now, but it is a bit awkward, but they do go in to that box where the receiver would be held. It went together reasonably well, if I'm honest, but yeah, time will tell once we get it up and running on the battery, you know, the receiver, and we can get it tuned and sort of running as it should be. So watch out for that video very soon.